Howdy Spacers, and welcome back to Blank Space Dolls. It's time again for another special collaboration with some of my amazing doll friends here on YouTube. But before we get into the roster for this collaboration, let's check out the theme, Euphoria. But not just that, Euphoria X Rainbow High, where the only rules are Euphoria inspiration using Rainbow High doll bases. So now let's check attendance for class. This includes Keto's Workshop, Moonlight Jewel, and Jackie O. So be sure to check out my friends' videos too, and let them know I sent you. But also be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future projects. And with that, let's get into the tutorial. Woo! The base doll that I decided to use for this collaboration and doll creation is Sunny Madison. Unfortunately, she's one of the first waves, so she does not have full articulation at the neck, but that's okay. We're gonna just start by prepping her by popping those eyes out, and then I actually just kind of take a moment to look at the details in the doll sculpt, and it's actually very beautiful, and I'm like, oh, yep, that's glitter. I'm gonna have to wipe that off, so let's start prepping the eyes. To begin preparing the eyes for customization, I go in with my Dremel tool and my high grit sanding disc, as well as a fine grit sanding tip. Say that 10 times fast. You can see here that I've taken away that original dome shape from the factory eyes. Once I've done that to both sides, I'm going to go in with this green metallic paint and begin to recolor the iris portion of the eye. And this is just to give it a glittery base, even though I cover most of this up with matte paint later. As you can see here, I'm going to be using a neon yellow to go in and just add fine dots and details just to make them a little bit more dimensional. And then I go back in with a matte green and cover some of that up and give it a little bit more of a fade, so that way it looks a little bit more realistic. You know, if neon green eyes could be realistic, I guess. Once I'm happy with that gradient, I move on to eye shines, completely doing them wrong, might I add, because they're definitely mirrored, and that is not the way that they should be drawn, as if I've never done a face-up before, but we're going to push through and move forward. I'm going to use my large dotting tool to make the pupils in the eyes and give them a little bit more life. Then using that same black acrylic paint, I go in with my fine paintbrush and begin adding a little bit more dimension and shadow to the corner portions of the iris. Here's what those eyes look like when they're completely repainted, and I did add a little bit of iridescent yellow glitter just for a little bit of whimsy, and of course I'm going to redome that using my UV resin and handheld UV light. And you can really see how the UV resin brings the glitter to life in the eyes. With the eyes now done, I can start to prepare the face for the actual face-up by removing the factory paint using 100% acetone, and I also wrap the hair up with some painter's tape and old fabric. And we're gonna pop those eyes in really quick. Boop! There we go. Much better, now she can see. Now the eyes are safe and secure in the head, and what we want to do is go ahead and take some masking tape and cover the eye shape and begin sketching on our face-up. Yes, some of you may have noticed that I'm using a mechanical pencil here. I wanted to try this 0.3mm pencil, as I have a really hard time getting my specific watercolor pencils to get to the sharp point that I need for really fine lines, and I wanted to do a good job since this was my first time doing a rainbow high face, so yes, I'm using a mechanical pencil. Please forgive me. Everything else is watercolor pencils, but we will see how this holds up over time. And putting in those fine lines in the eyebrows, and then I begin blushing the doll's face and just the visible areas of her body, so her chest, shoulders, and hands will be visible in the outfit, so I do go ahead and blush those as well. Then I can go in and start to add some of the shadows to her face using a deeper rustic red, almost terracotta color to add a little bit of depth. Now I can go in and start to fill in the actual yellow of her eyebrows to match her hair, and this is where I realized that pencil that I had originally used was going to make the eyebrows a bit too dark at the ends, but it actually is not super visible with the bangs she has at the end, but I found the one flaw, but everything else I loved using the pencil for, so, you know, learning experiences, but now I know. And then I'm just gonna add some cute little cutie marks to her cheeks, and then we're gonna go in and deepen that eyeliner color and go over those pencil lines with actual black acrylic paint. Then I go in with my Tamiya acrylic gloss in clear and gloss the lips and also re-gloss the eyes because they had lost a little bit of the shine with the masking tape on them, and you can see they're brought right back to life. Glitter and 3D lashes are a must for this doll, and I actually use human lashes that are cut to a smaller size, and you can see me applying them very slowly and very carefully here. And at first I thought they might have been too long, but I actually kind of grew on the fullness and the thickness of them, so I decided to leave them at this length, and I'm just reinforcing that eyelash band with a little bit of glue so that way I know they're secured and they're not going to fall off. And this is what they look like. Once the face is done, I can remove the head burrito, and I thought I had ruined the bangs, so I go in with a hairdryer and a brush and I re-flatten those out. And this is what it looks like. And then I actually decided to French braid both sides of her pigtails and cut her little tassels a little bit shorter so they looked a bit more natural. And this is the outcome. Simple and easy. Now it's on to my favorite part of the customizing process, the outfit. I'm so excited. Okay, so we're going to keep it monochromatic and do yellow. So I'm going to use this gingham plaid and this yellow floral. And what I'm going to do is take Sunny Madison's old top, and I'm actually going to trace around the crop top, just around half of it, because I want to replicate the pattern. And this is something that I've shown in my videos before, but this is really good if you're not great at pattern making. You can always just trace the pattern directly from the factory pattern, and they've already done all of the work for you. So here you can see I'm doing just that. Here I'm just refining the shape and darkening my lines and deciding what details I want to add, and then I'm actually going to cut this on the fold, and it'll make a perfectly symmetrical pattern piece for you to follow. Here you can see those adjusted pattern pieces, and I've also re-added in the seam allowance. And what you want to do is you just want to go ahead and gather the bottom portion of that bodice and sew it to the top of the lower portion of the bodice and fold over and hem the top. And instead of sewing this, I actually use Fabri-Tac glue just to make it a little bit easier and a little bit smoother. Then on a scrap piece of paper, I'm going to freehand a sleeve pattern, and I wanted it to be similar to those Selkie dresses that went viral a little while ago. So you can see here I'm trying to sketch that out, and then I cut out that original shape. And as you can see, I'm kind of testing what the gathering is going to look like, and I realized that that's not enough volume, so I actually bell the bottom of the sleeve out just a little bit more to add a little bit more volume to that. And then I'm going to cut that out of my floral fabric. Fray check around the entire perimeter of those pattern pieces to avoid any excess fraying. Gather the lower hem of the sleeve to match the cuff length. But before you sew those side seams of the sleeve, you want to gather and hem the top portion of the sleeve for a clean finish. I pre-measured a length of lace to fit around the doll's neck as a choker, which is the same lace that I used on the cuff of the sleeves, and I sewed the sleeves directly to the choker in the correct area. I added white ribbon trim to the bodice to make it look a little bit cleaner, and also attached it to the collar using these clear iridescent bugle beads. Because I haven't mentioned it yet, I wanted to make sure that I shared my main photo reference when creating the outfit for my Rainbow High X Euphoria collaboration doll, and I wanted to keep the practicality in mind, so I am actually making a pair of pants, but not just any pants, because I can't just do a skinny jean, I have to make a flare jean. And you see me using the same technique, just sketching around that factory outfit, and that's going to give me a generic pattern shape, but I also forgot that these are meant to hit at the ankle, and I wanted my flare jeans to cover the shoes, so I extended that and cut that out 4 times on the pattern pieces. Be sure to note that on my pattern piece, you'll see an area that is marked for darts, and you're only going to mark those on the back pattern pieces, as that's going to create a little bit of curve shaping around the butt. And once you have the darts sewn in on both the left and the right back panels, you're going to attach them to the front at the side seams. Then for a little extra detail, I go in and top stitch the outside, so you will see the stitching on the outside of the garment. Once the side seams are sewn, you can go ahead and sew up that center front seam. And I top stitch that as well on both sides. And then you go and sew up your back seam, but only halfway. Then I go ahead and add a facing by sewing around the entire perimeter of the top seam, and then I will actually fold that in and top stitch that as well. Here's what that waistband looks like once it's flipped and sewn, and then I'm going to take that same lace that I used as the choke run on the cuffs of the sleeve and put this on the hem of the flared pant. And this is what those look like. I just sew on a hook and eye at the back and it's done. Here's what the two pieces look like together, and I did add a little bit of the lace at the waistband just to tie it all together. And then I remembered back to my reference photo that Maddie was wearing a beret, and I said, oh yes, I will be making that. So I'm going to be using this contrasting gingham yellow fabric, and I'm going to be cutting out two circular shapes, one smaller and then one you'll see a little bit larger, and the larger one is going to be the top of the beret and the smaller one is the bottom. Because the gingham fabric is a little bit thin, I do use this shear tool as an interfacing just to give it a little bit more shape and body when I do sew it together. I did sketch out a rectangular shape on the bottom portion of the beret, and I sew around that, and this is supposed to be the opening of the beret and to make a clean edge. So I do clip this and then turn these pieces inside out, and that actually gives you a clean edge. I really in theory should have made this a little bit bigger, but I didn't want to go back, and honestly it won't be seen anyways because I do pin the beret on my doll's head, but I figured I would keep it in because for those of you who want to make a beret, you do want to do this, but you want to make the hole a little bit larger than I did here. And then I'm going to base stitch that tool onto the top portion of the beret, and then I'm going to follow those same exact guidelines and gather it to begin to shrink it down to the size of the lower portion of the beret. At this point it should begin to look like a shower cap or like a fancy bonnet of some sort, but just go ahead and attach that good side to good side, and then you're going to turn that right side out, and this is what it looks like. For sure should have cut the hole to put it on the head a little bit wider, but this wouldn't have fit a Rainbow High's head anyways. But if you were making this for say a Barbie, it would actually be perfect. Just make the hole slightly larger than the one that you see here. Attaching a little pom-pom to complete the beret, and then I actually do stuff that with tools so it is allowed to keep its shape, and then I'm just going back in and adding more feminine little bows to the outfit. To complete the look, since they aren't visible anyways, I do give her original sunny shoes, and now we can take a look at my Euphoria inspired character. Joking? I am not. She's definitely giving me country music star or like Sharpay from High School Musical. Yeah, very that. But either way, I hope everyone helps me in welcoming Alma Rio to the Blank Space family. Right before her photo shoot, I did feel like she looked a little bit too sweet to attend Euphoria High, so I went back in and added some body jewelry to edge her up a little bit, but I still wanted her to keep that retro feminine vibe that I had. This was such a fun and interesting collaboration to take part of, and I'm so honored to be part of such a fun group in the customizing community here on YouTube. And I think in one way or another, we all relate to one of the Euphoria High characters. Whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not, we can all relate to something they are going through or will go through, or feeling appreciated or underappreciated. So I definitely want to take this time to let you know, the viewer, that I appreciate you, all of the support and the lovely comments and interactions that we have in the comment section really make my day and really remind me that I'm allowed to go at my own pace with my art and that I don't have to feel forced to create just to create. And I really enjoy that aspect of creating content for you guys. I can't wait to share some of my upcoming projects and ideas that I have, and maybe some human scale items. Maybe. Let me know if you guys are interested in that in the comment section below. And of course, another special shout out to Cairo's Workshop, Moonlight Jewel, and Jackie O for taking part in this collaboration with me. And of course, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, follow my friends and do the same thing, leave a comment, let me know what you think. And if you want to see some of my previous works, follow me on Instagram by searching @BlankSpaceDolls, where in my world, there's always a blank space. Let's customize it together. Until next time, spacers, see you soon. I'm using a mechanical pencil for this face up, and this is actually a 0.3 millimeter